it's got me thinking, should I give up on this thing that I've been chasing? 'Cause honestly, I don't want to. Am I wasting my emotion on you, baby? Am I wasting all my time waiting on you? Should I give up on this thing that I've been chasing? 'Cause honestly, I don't know what to do. No, I don't know. Grabbed a pen and wrote down every word you said on my heart. Then you crossed it out and read and watched it shatter. Yeah, I just watched it shatter. You ran away in hopes that I would follow you to your grave. So we both got tattoos on our shoulders way back in last October. So I'll go back to where it started, so I won't be broken hearted, and I run the other way from you, from you. Well, ask yourself, how the hell did you end up here on this shelf, wasting away another year? But I don't have the answers. No, I don't have all the answers. So I'll go back to where it started, so I won't be broken hearted, and I will run the other way from you. Guitar solo. I'll go back to where it started, when I was all you ever wanted, but you ran the other way. Yeah, you ran the other way. So I'll go back to where it started, so I won't be broken hearted, and I will run the other way from you, from you. Stuck in this cycle for long enough. Try to save my breath, maybe just this once we could forget about it and just move on. I don't know where we're going, but I don't care, 'cause I'm with you. With you, it feels like everybody's talking. but nobody's ever listening, and it breaks my heart because I know I can stay out of it, stay out of it. You know better, bro, not to mess it up. At your age, but it still might not be enough. No more safety nets, they're all watching us. Only silence inside of an empty love. I don't know where we're going, but I don't care as long as I'm with you. With you, it feels like everybody's talking, but nobody's ever listening, and it breaks my heart because I know I can stay out of it, stay out of it, stay out of it. But I don't know where we're going, but I don't care as long as I'm with you. I don't know where we're going, but I don't care as long as I'm with you. Feels like everybody's talking, but nobody's ever listening, and it breaks my heart because I know I can stay out of it, stay out of it. Feels like everybody's talking, but nobody's ever listening, and it breaks my heart because I know I can stay out of it, stay out of it, stay out of it.
Hello, friends. I'm Mac Wilson from The Current from Minnesota Public Radio, and I am joined with Michigander in the Current studio. This is Jason from Michigander. You came in with your band today, and it's good to have you in.
It's great to be here.
So, Jason, Michigander, you played at the Turf Club last night in St. Paul, and I was scrolling through my Instagram feed, and I had a couple of friends who were at the show. And at one point, I saw... I'm like, is this person walking through the Turf Club? And I'm like, I realized it was you.
It was me, yeah.
Singing Let Down with that. So is that a traditional part of your set where you go out in the crowd now?
It wasn't always a traditional part of the set, but I think I've had this like distance from like the audience for so long because of like the COVID, the pandemic, yeah. And so I kind of feel like this is the first time I feel like pretty connected with folks, and I think that this... like it happened one night and I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. It's kind of cool to like go see. For like so long we played to nobody and we could see the back of the room, but now there's like, you know, there's the bright lights, you can't really see everybody in the back. So now I'm kind of like trying to figure out a way how to go back and like, you know, see the people in the back of the room. And so that has kind of been, it's kind of been a little bit of a tradition, a four-show tradition, I guess.
So now I'm curious, the very first time that you did that and went out in the crowd, was there part of, in the back of your mind, you're like, this is it, I'm going to get COVID from doing this? Or
yeah,
did
definitely.
you get over that? Or?
Definitely. I did it in Portland the first time, which I thought was probably one of the safer cities to go in the crowd. And then, we probably, well, it's a little nerve-wracking, but I think it's really fun. It's a moment in the set, I think.
Well, you sold out the Turf Club last night, and you got a poster up on the wall. That's an exciting honor for the Turf Club.
Very surreal to be coming to the Twin Cities for so long, playing to nobody. Like last night, it was sold out before we got there, and it's just weird. It feels weird, but it's really cool. You know, like that's what you always dream of when you like start making music, that people are going to show up, and it feels like it's working in a way. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
A couple of nights ago, you posted a picture of you and your band out on the road, very, very late at night, out at a certain chain restaurant that you regretted the decision later in your mind. And we got in talking about fast food chains. So in Nashville, what's your recommendation if somebody is there, whether it's a chain or something else, a treasure? Where should we go?
Okay, so there's a couple places like down where I live. There's a Thai restaurant called Deg, D-E-G, Deg Thai. It's the best like Thai food that I've ever had, which I haven't had a ton, but it's one of my favorites. There's a brewery / pizza place called Smith & Lentz. I think it's the best pizza I've ever had. And there's just so many good little coffee shops and stuff too there. I really love it there.
Well, you might be a while before you're home because you're out on tour right now with the new EP out called It Will Never Be the Same. It was a long time coming getting this EP out after the injuries both to yourself and your wife over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
After you broke your leg during the video shoot and you were laid up for a while, in the back of your mind, were you like, I can't wait to get out and about? And were you balancing that at the same time with, it actually is kind of nice to get some peace and quiet. How did you balance those two ideas in your head?
It was the worst because, I broke my leg. A few weeks later, my wife got in a pretty bad wreck. And it was like the lowest point of my life. I don't think it was the first time I really experienced like panic attacks and like sleep paralysis and like horrible nightmares and just a lot of terrible things. And I was like the lowest time in my life. I didn't feel like creative at all. I like felt like, should I even be doing this thing at all? It took a long time for me to like be able to like walk again. Like it takes like 8 weeks or something, 6-8 weeks. And you're just stuck at home while everyone else is living their life. Like during the pandemic, everybody was put on hold and kind of like together, But for me, it was just like, I'm put on hold and all these great plans that we had kind of got pushed aside. And I was just stuck at home while my friends were like doing their lives normally. And also dealing with like some pretty like intense depression. And I haven't really experienced that ever in my life. And luckily I got like help with therapists and a counselor and everything. And it's been awesome in that regard because now I feel better than ever. It's kind of weird. Like I feel like as humans, we don't try to make change until we're like forced to do so. And like post-pandemic, like we hopefully we unearthed a bunch of crappy things that are wrong with our society and are making active change to make those better. And it was like same for me with this whole thing is like I had some issues I needed to deal with, but I didn't have to deal with them until I was like forced to. And that's kind of like, it's weird that the record is about that because the record was done before any of this stuff happened to me. And it's just a little strange coincidence.
Well, that's one of the things I've always noticed about Michigander's music, where there's this real sense of vulnerability that's in everything. It's really refreshing and candid in all of your songs. I want you to think specifically, role model wise, who are some of the male musicians whom you've listened to who express that sort of vulnerability that you are able to convey in your music?
I think Matt Berninger from The National. Like he's like The National are like my favorite band, and they're just one of those all-time bands I love. And I think his lyrics are so. I mean, a lot of times they're very interesting and like, what is he talking about? But a lot of times he's just like talking about his life and how, like he's talking about like his wife, or he's talking about his daughter, and those are like really intimate, personal things to talk about, especially for a band that's that size. Like there's millions of people listening to that band and like attaching to every word that is brought out by them. He's an artist that I like really look up to. Ben Gibbard is another songwriter, and Connor Oberst, I think, are like some of those really vulnerable songwriters that Taylor Goldsmith from Dawes. Yeah, those are all specific artists that I think have inspired me to be more vulnerable, because the more vulnerable you are, the more people attach to it, and the more people feel like it's real. And if you're just kind of pulling something out of your butt, then it's like not gonna work. I feel like in the long term, people care about the story. People don't just want another band. There's already a ton of great bands. We don't need any more bands. We need people that are saying something. We need people who are like normalizing horrible things, like that feel bad. Normalizing horrible feelings. And knowing that that's okay to feel that way, and then figuring out a way to cope with it.
We're in the current studio with Michigander, and you worked with Tony Hoffer on this new one. He seems like a guy who brings out the very best in whoever he's working with. Like, he made one of my favorite Bell and Sebastian albums. It Fits in the Tantrums, jumps to mind. What's the day-to-day of working with Tony?
Tony made me slow down and take things a little more seriously. I've always taken like the craft somewhat seriously, I thought, and I've always like worked hard is what I thought. But Tony really pushed me to like refine things and not overdo things and take things slow and seriously and find the best, like dial in that tone. Like if we're spending the time on it, let's make it sound good. And vice versa. Like if we have a cool tone, let's make the part good. And like dialing that all in. And he's very meticulous and he's like a wizard behind a computer and he's turning all his knobs. And it was a very cool experience. Yeah.
So when you say slowing things down a little bit, does that play in at all with the decision to just continue to release EPs while working on eventually towards a full-length album? Like not feeling rushed to put out a full-length record, but just sort of releasing the music as it comes?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like how it was supposed to be. Like I never felt ready enough to make a full-length album. I do now. Now, I don't know if it's just because I completed like this cycle of like 4 seasons. There's 4 EPs, so it's like kind of feels like a complete circle, and like there's threads that go through them all, and it's like kind of like this complete, there's I don't know like 20 some songs from all 4 EPs, and they all feel really great. But now it's like, oh, I actually feel like I'm a competent enough artist to make a full length record that is actually solid. Like all my favorite bands, their first records are so important. You think of like Hot Fuss and Parachutes and like all these like great records that were like too many to name, but they're the first records are just so important to me. And so when I make my debut record, I want that to be in that like that quality of a record. And it's just really, really daunting to put. It's hard enough to put 5 or 6 songs together, but then you think about 10 or 12 songs. That's people do it, but it's just really scary.
Jason, I appreciate sort of the millennial perspective on that, because we were talking about debut albums. Like we did a countdown a couple of years back of the essential debut albums, and Pearl Jam's 10 was number 1. So I expected it to be, Pearl Jam and Led Zeppelin, and then the Killers and Coldplay. I'm like, absolutely, those are foundational records for people our age.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it's neat to get that perspective. Jason from Michigander, thank you for stopping by the Current studio today, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
The Current is public media made possible thanks to member support.